Within The Legend of Zelda, there are many stories, events, and secrets that make up the lore of the entire series, and I mean a lot. And while many of us know almost everything there is to know about the history told through the games, there are several missing pieces of the puzzles and mysteries surrounding the historical identity of the latest game in the series timeline, Breath of the Wild, along with its heavily anticipated sequel, currently referred to as Breath of the Wild 2. One tremendous secret that many of us are working to uncover has to deal with that of the Zonai, the mysterious tribe said to have existed within Hyrule once upon a time, only to be wiped from the face of the earth, with only their architecture and a few whispers of their legacy to exist. However, what is seen in the first trailer of Breath of the Wild 2 and the connections drawn from their relics that still stand the test of time, the forgotten history may be that of a forced one that leads to a darker conclusion that will lead to what may be the biggest theme of Breath of the Wild 2, truth. And to discuss the identity of this truth, the fifth dimension is joined by an expert in studying the works of the Zonai, NintendoBlackCrisis. With that being said, strap on in for the safety of hype. Let's dive directly into the unknown. When talking about the Zonai, we are speaking on those that built these mysterious structures that can be found all over Hyrule. As mysterious as they are extremely recognizable in design. These buildings include the entirety of the Zonai ruins that are located in the Faron region. However, Zonai creations can actually be found all over Hyrule, which include the various animal statues, the 3 grand labyrinths, the various Zonai towers, the Thundra Plateau, and the Thyphlo ruins. As varied and expansive these Zonai objects are around Hyrule, the Zonai themselves, much of their stories and true existence have been lost to time, with only whispers existing within these ruins and supplemental material quoted in Creating a Champion. The history of the Zonai people has been lost to time. There are rumors that they were a savage tribe based in Faron, where the most substantial of the ruins are located. However, Zonai ruins, or ruins with very similar characteristics, can be found in all parts of Hyrule. In addition, the massive palace in Faron and the Zonai ruins throughout Hyrule seem to have elements connecting them to ancient shrines. The Zonai themselves are spoken of in hushed whispers as strong magic wielders who vanished suddenly thousands of years ago. The disappearance of the Zonai is one of Hyrule's greatest mysteries.
The suggestion that the Zonai are rumored to be a tribe of savages seems a bit out of place. Or rather, it was placed in a way for the consensus of those looking into them to agree that this is what the tribe may have always been. This notion seems to fit the bill, as the barbarian set of gear can be found in the shrines located in each of the Zonai mazes, with their descriptions in both English and Japanese suggesting a connection between the two. However, the architectural feats of the Zonai, along with whispers that suggest grandeur in magic arts, points in a different direction, especially given that within the Breath of the Wild 2 trailer, we can see that the depths contain more creations of the Zonai that could answer the mystery of where the tribe disappeared to.
The reason why the Zonai have disappeared so suddenly from the pages of history within Hyrule is that they have moved from dwelling on the surfaces to surviving under the grounds of Hyrule. And by the time this is all over, you will come to understand that they were forced into this fate.
The ideas that the Zonai are somehow connected to the Sheikah shrines, that the ruins can be found everywhere in Hyrule, that rumors suggest them to be barbarians while the hushed truth is whispered that they were actually masterful magic users, all boils down to their striking fate.
That they were driven out of Hyrule and forced into its depths by the royal family. This act, along with records of their history gone with the wind, were all part of a plan, an effort to eliminate all of the Zonai history and culture, with the royal family going as far as to purposely rewrite existing lore of the Zonai to rebrand them as savage in order to cover up the truth. And what is the truth we speak of? Literally, the truth. The Zonai tribe are the true lore keepers of Hyrule. They are the ones that record the perfect, all-encompassing history and everything that transpires within the land of Hyrule as an impartial, unbiased accountant. You would think that would be a good thing, right? A great thing even. So why did they have to suffer a cruel fate of nearly being wiped from existence? That is because they record everything as an outside observer, and their pure, untainted observations is not something that will go in line with the royal family's designs. Within the many crevices of the lore within the Legend of Zelda series, it is no secret that the royal family has had a history in blunders and decrees that paint them in a poor light to those that partake in the story from the outside looking in. But as the governing force of Hyrule, the monarchy that rules over the land, as the chosen people, they must not be recorded in a history that will paint them in a negative way.
The idea that a massive part of the Zonai's identity as a tribe is that they record history in a complete fashion is supported by what remains to exist in Hyrule and what we see in Breath of the Wild 2. From what the Zonai have built, we see 3 incredibly important structures with animal motifs. These animals include a dragon, an owl, and a boar. These 3 choices in creature design have a very important role as each of these animals represent one virtue, that together form the virtues found within the Triforce, with the dragon being courage, the owl being wisdom, and the boar being power.
These associations are not only plain to see, but confirmed in creating a champion. This means that the Zonai indeed had knowledge of the Triforce, their individual virtues, and even granted associations of these virtues through the use of animals that correlates with the events of Hyrule's past. But this also had another huge implication, that among the entirety of the presentation of Breath of the Wild, the Triforce itself is almost completely non-existent and not even spoken of in the game at all. The only acknowledgement to its existence is through the obvious symbolism that is used throughout Hyrule in association with the royal family and Zelda's sealing power in motion, along with the Zonai, which plays into the idea of Zonai being record keepers and displaying their records through the use of their buildings. But that's not all. Wait, there's more.
Hints that further this supposed truth can be found within Breath of the Wild 2's trailer. While Link and Zelda are exploring the depths of Hyrule, we can easily see some concepts that we recognize. This includes Ganondorf as a corpse, luminous stones in grand abundance, and the designs of the structures prevalent throughout the entire trailer. This helps us draw an association, but what may be the biggest support of the notion that the Zonai were the true lore keepers of Hyrule is the mural found within the underground of Hyrule. The mural of Ganondorf on horseback, trident in hand, along with those that support him.
As we all know, the entity of Ganon and the Calamity came to its original existence thanks to the Curse of Demise, but the being known as Ganon had his humble beginnings as a human known as Ganondorf, the demon thief and king of the Gerudo. However, the full truth of this seems to once again been lost to time by the time of Breath of the Wild, as the name Ganondorf does not come up at all in Breath of the Wild. While the term of the Great King of Evil and the knowledge of him being tied to the Gerudo still exist in extremely small portions, the entire truth of Ganon's start and the form of Ganondorf is all but gone from the history present in Breath of the Wild, despite it being a very important piece to the chronology of Zelda, like the Triforce. And the fact that Ganondorf in the flesh is also present during the trailer plays into the idea that the royal family is trying to cover up everything that is a dark chapter in their own history and the history of Hyrule, especially if they can tell it.
The royal family is no stranger to conducting acts like this not only in Breath of the Wild but in past games as well, in which they have driven out other tribes completely or into compliance with their ways. In the history of the Calamity and the Sheikah, the royal family exiled the Sheikah with an ultimatum due to the supposed threat of the technology forged by the Shadow Folk. This betrayal led to the Sheikah abandoning the ancient technology and the formation of the Yiga clan, an adversary that persists to this day.
Other accounts include the supposed Gerudo subjugation before the events of Twilight Princess and the use of the Shadow Temple before the events of Ocarina of Time. So the thought that the royal family trying to rid the land of the Zonai is not out of the question.
The supposed Sheikah association with everything that the Zonai has been known for to exist in Hyrule can also give us a clue in the act ordered by the royal family. It could be possible that it was the task of the Shadow Tribe, the Sheikah, to dispatch and displace the Zonai to the confines of the underground, as the Sheikah have been known to conduct the most dastardly work on behalf of the royal family behind the scenes and within the shadows. So, in order to do away with the Zonai, their history, and extension, the true history of Hyrule, the Sheikah, who are experts in the covert arts, dealt with eradicating them from within the darkness, and in tandem with the royal family, who were the masters of public records throughout Hyrule's erased knowledge of their existence, and rebranded the Zonai as mere barbarians to overt anyone who dared study them, into writing them off as a footnote of savages within Hyrule.
But then one must think, if the Sheikah and the royal family attempted to destroy all that there is when it comes to the Zonai, then why do the ruins, the buildings, and the other physical proof remain in the land of Hyrule? This includes the statues, the towers, and yes, the grand labyrinths scattered all over Hyrule. That is because, despite what the royal family wants you to think, the Zonai were incredibly intelligent and resourceful, as alluded to with their aptitude for magic, that they built these amazing structures in a specific way, with a specific makeup, that they are built to last. These marvels are thousands of years old, yet despite the passage of time, the elements, and even the calamity, were able to stand strong throughout it all. And any attempts to destroy these structures will be for naught, as seen with the Boar Zonai statues, which would make sense for the royal family to target first due to its association with Ganon and the fact that the royal family's history with the Triforce of Power specifically has never been that of a good one.
This presented a very peculiar problem to the Sheikah and the royal family, but this was a problem that would find an easy yet disappointing solution. And that solution would be for the Sheikah to claim the accomplishments of the Zonai by placing their own creations within that of the Zonai. This would include the Spring of Courage, the Thyphlo ruins, the Thundra Plateau, and of course the 3 giant mazes. This way, their own structures within what has been built by Zonai can be viewed as an association by the hero, and any other onlookers wouldn't have any sound arguments against them due to the Zonai being non-existent in the knowledge of those that dwell within the land of Hyrule.
And even if one to know about the Zonai, they would think of them as mere savages that couldn't possibly build any of these grand locations, as it must have been the Sheikah. This strategy will allow the Sheikah to take credit for what the Zonai have built and deter any expectations of something greater from the Forgotten Tribe. What's more is that this could be much deeper when it comes to the relationship between the Zonai and the Sheikah. As the Zonai have been forgotten as greatly adept at magic, perhaps it is their accomplishments in these magical arts that led to the Sheikah's own usage of ancient energy in order to create these technological marvels seen in Breath of the Wild, as there are Zonai towers that predate that of the Sheikah towers that could hint at these original buildings being precursors to what the Sheikah created. The fact that those known as the Zonai were adept with magic and are closely associated with the overall knowledge of Hyrule and the Luminous Stones, a supplemental reason why they were dealt with by the royal family, could also stem from the danger they possibly posed to the land and her king. And once again, with what we've seen with the Sheikah, the king would have no issue in using this as an excuse for action. Something that is poetic about all of this is that one way or another, the Zonai have been associated with the virtue of courage, through their supposed color motif, to the ruins surrounding the Spring of Courage, to the luminous energy, to what we saw in the Breath of the Wild 2 trailer. It could be that this is the tribe of courage, being courageous and brave enough to record the occurrences of history in its purest form, knowing the enemies it would create and the doom that would follow. Yet it is the courage for the truth that allowed them to truly never be forgotten in the face of oblivion, thanks to what they left behind in the world of Hyrule and even under it. A little food for thought is that with all of this under consideration, it could be that at the end of the day, the Zonai were indeed the ones that kept Ganondorf's remains intact and sealed, as evil as Ganondorf may be, the truth of everything that has transpired with the chronology of the Legend of Zelda lives with and within him. And if Ganondorf were to die, truly die, a Ganondorf that would know events of your past, then the truth would die with him. A truth that those above the surface would not want you to know. Something to consider about the Zonai.
While there are many mysteries still surrounding the tribe known as the Zonai, one thing is almost for certain. There is a truth still unknown tied to their hidden history, and that truth, we feel, will come to light within Breath of the Wild 2. But in the meantime, it's up to us as members of the Zelda community to share our thoughts, theories, and research into the past of the Zelda series, in order to get the smallest glimpse of what the future could hold. And when looking into the past of the Zelda series, within each game, more theories, observations, and analysis work are brought to light, such as a collaboration with HMK found over on my channel concerning that of A Link Between Worlds and the story it presents. You can find a link to that in the end card.
I hope you enjoyed this collaboration. Let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. Once again, big thanks to my Patreon supporters for helping making this video happen. If you want to find out how you can support HMK for just $1 a month, check out my Patreon info in the description box below. Alright guys, until the next Breath of the Wild 2 theory, never fear, dive deep, and enter the 5th dimension. This has been HMK, and I'll check you guys later.